It is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. It's almost next year. That's cool. I'm heading into work a little later than usual. I had to run an 8 a.m. meeting. It's almost 10 o'clock now, so I've just been kind of working from home to start the day. Then we got a little distracted and figured I should probably get into the office. I think we have someone visiting, so I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss out on that. I got a topic that was submitted, so we'll dive into that. I like this one a lot. It's around soft skills, and sorry, I gotta put my windows down for just a second. Might get noisy. There's too much condensation on the window. There we go. Yeah, so this is about people going for promotion, and I guess I feel like it's kind of, I don't want to say typical, but relatively common, where as software engineers we focus a lot on the technical side of things, and then as you're advancing, you learn that the soft skills and stuff are important, right? Or else it's very difficult to have more and more impact. My wife left this in here. It's a makeup brush thing. Yeah, if your soft skills are lacking, your impact is limited purely by your own technical abilities, and at some point it's going to be very obvious that it's hard to have more and more impact. We get more stuff done in teams, right? And across teams, so it's something you want to lean into. A quick reminder before I start diving into my thoughts on this and how to kind of, what I would recommend for someone who feels like they're struggling a little bit with it, is that if you want any questions and stuff answered, please just write them in the comments. That's where I think this one came from, so perfect, right? Happy to kind of chat through it. If you have scenarios that are more involved and you want to keep them anonymous when I go to talk about them, look for Dev Leader on any social media platform. Send me a message and just say, hey, I was watching Code Commute and I was wondering if you could talk about this. The more detail you offer, the more context I have to work with and offer my perspective. And of course, like, I'm just a dude in a car that's about to be stuck in traffic, so I'm not offering you like professional consulting or anything like that. These are just my perspective, so I hope that you get some benefit out of them. But like I would say that if you're listening to anyone's perspective and opinion, it's just one person, right? So I'm not here to claim that my perspective and my view is the only right one. So please do your homework, gather insights from other sources, and for all of you, I wish you success in everything you're doing. So I'm just here to try and help. Okay, so soft skills, I talk about this a lot, especially if you know me from posting on social media in general or my primary YouTube channel, Dev Leader. I talk about soft skills all the time. I literally, it hasn't been posted yet, but I guess I will do the first announcement here because the material's been delivered. I have just created a soft skills course for Dome Train, and that's where all of my other courses are. So I did this in collaboration with Ryan Murphy. So this is, a guided approach for working on soft skills and why they're beneficial. But I've always said this about my content. I will pump out as much free content that I aim to be valuable and helpful. And then that way, if I layer on paid for content like courses and stuff, it's for a particular audience that gets the benefit out of having something more guided. I think some people find when they're paying for courses that they almost have this like accountability, this commitment, like I paid money for it, I better go invest the time. So again, if that's not for you, no sweat. I'm not here to push stuff. But if you're interested in that will be launching soon on Dome Train. So where to start with this is kind of, where's this person going, man? Some people, we're not even in sport mode. Oh, That's what they did, a U-turn in front of me. I just realized what they were doing. Idiots. My God. They were trying to turn left, but they started to miss the intersection, and then that's why I was so confused where they were turning. Okay, so I do try to let people know and remind them, like, especially if you're an aspiring developer, like, get started on your soft skills early. Sometimes you might not feel like it's, we gotta get this light. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, just in time. Sometimes it might feel like, especially when you're starting out, like, oh, what does it matter? Like, I'm getting interviewed. They just want to ask me lead code questions, maybe system design. Like, my soft skills don't matter. I got to demonstrate that I can code stuff. People keep saying build projects to learn how to be a software developer. And these are all true statements. But it's also true that your soft skills are going to be what carries you very far in your career. So I try to remind people of that, and I would say that even as you're starting out, right, if you're like, okay, like I am building projects and stuff like that, like how can you start early on the soft skills? Right? There's a bunch of different ways to do this. I'm not going to tell you one way is better or the only way. You can do things like, for example, learning in public gives you this ability to go write and communicate about the things that you're learning about. So this is practicing like written communication, or depending on how you're sharing stuff, right? Maybe you want to do like little video entries where you're walking through the stuff that you're learning, right? That could be like verbal communication, like you're practicing articulating ideas and thoughts, summarizing them for a different audience. Like these are parts of soft skills. You could be working on projects with a friend. Maybe you want to go, why can't I think of the word? Contribute? My God, that was hard. You can go contribute to open source, or even, join a project that, I don't know if it necessarily has to be open source. I think there's lots of open source, and it's awesome if you can contribute, but just finding stuff to build with other people and working together is another great opportunity to practice soft skills. If you're in school, right? I know when I was in school, and I think that there's a lot of boot camps offer stuff like this too, but when you have team projects, this is yet another opportunity to be consciously thinking, okay, I'm working on a team, like let me pay attention to what's going on for the dynamics here, instead of just being like, oh man, another team project, like I hate projects, blah blah. Like seize the opportunity to be like, okay, like it's not every day I'm working on a project with people, so how do we get the best out of this for like our growth and our focus? So I think that there's opportunities like that, but they're all around us, right? And I would say if you feel like, hey, I'm writing code and I'm practicing my technical skills, but I don't have the opportunity to work on the soft skills, my recommendation is like create those opportunities, right? Everything I just described to you, I mean, maybe aside from the school thing, like if you don't have projects that are collaborative, that's a different story, but you could go post online that you want to go build stuff with other people. You could be doing the learning in public thing. These are opportunities to work on your soft skills that you can create. Okay, when it comes to soft skills, one of the most important ones, I think they're all valuable, but one of the most important ones that I like people to focus on is communication. And I've been an engineering manager for over 12 years now, and my takeaway from some of the biggest challenges that I observe when I'm working with engineering teams is a lot of the time it comes down to, I have to sneeze. Oh my goodness. Whew. I felt it coming. Oh. A lot of the time it comes down to communication. Whether that's people communicate things and it's not clear, people fail to communicate things, people missed so things were being communicated, but people missed the opportunity depending on the communication mechanism. There's so many things. You can have things that are being regularly communicated, okay? And if you have different groups that have different values for why things should be prioritized a certain way, why we should focus on certain things, it almost like just because you're doing the communication doesn't mean it's going to be effective. We see a lot of the time people will be taking one type of communication and blanket, pardon me, after that sneeze I'm wrecked, blanket applying that communication to different audiences, regardless of their technical level, their background, their domain expertise. So these are all things that you can be thinking about and trying to work on. Right? I'll give you a really simple example, okay? So, and you can tailor this to someone else in your life. So my wife and I don't have the same jobs. She works in psychology. I work in software engineering. And as a result, like we're not at the same place the whole day, right? So it's great when we're catching up at the end of the day. We're home from work. If she wants to talk to me about her work day and things that were either good or bad, or like interesting stories and stuff that she wants to share, she knows that I don't have like the level of background in psychology that she does. So she's unable to articulate to me, sorry, that's not the right word. She knows that to clearly articulate to me, there we go, that she can't just use tons of psychology terms because I just won't get them. That doesn't mean I'm stupid. It just means like I don't have the same education she does. I don't have the same focus that she does. And she acknowledges that, and she'll find ways to explain things to me in a way that I will get it. And the same thing is like I will do with her. So she's not a software developer. She's not going to understand a lot of the technical details. So if I had a bad day or there's something interesting that happened at work, I can't go into detail and be like, there was this file with this class in it, and there was this convoluted code that was working asynchronously, and then as a result, we had this memory backlog, and then that took down machines at the data center. Like, she'll have no idea what I'm saying. And that's not that she doesn't want to have a conversation with me. It's just that she's like, I just don't know what you're talking about. And this kind of thing happens all of the time. Okay, so when we're talking about communication, even in these examples, I can find ways to talk to my wife about interesting things that happened at work in a way where she'll understand how I'm feeling for that day. Right? So I could say, yeah, we got stuck on this really interesting problem, and it was challenging because we have code that runs, and as a result, because it can run out of order, it has different behavior every time. Like, that's a pretty high level, right? And she might go, I could understand why that would be frustrating. And then I would say, yeah, now go multiply that by hundreds of thousands of machines and see like just how big of an issue that could be. And okay, like makes more sense. But just finding the right level of communication for your audience can make a dramatic difference, right? If I went into all those details, I know my wife, she would look at me and say, I don't know what you're talking about. And like, I don't want to be rude, but like, I don't care because she won't understand. And that's totally fair. So it's not that she doesn't want to talk to me. It's just that if she's not going to get it, it's not a good use of anyone's time. So if you're not married, you don't have a significant other, it could just be a friend. It could be if you're living at home, you could talk to your parents or your siblings or something like that. Or like I said, write about it online. Talk about it online. Find ways to create these opportunities. Okay, so the person that asked this, I believe, was, it's a Lamborghini. A matte, I guess that's satin black, Urus. I don't know how I feel about those. It's nice, but like, I think if I'm paying that price tag, I just want to get maybe a slightly older Lamborghini and just have a sweet car. But anyway, this person that submitted this question, I think, is not necessarily just junior or aspiring to be a software developer. So they're already a software developer, and they're kind of realizing, like, I need to work on these things. Now, this is great because in the examples I was giving so far, I was talking about a lot of the time creating these opportunities. The cool thing for this individual, or if you're in this situation, is like if you're at work and you're like, crap, I feel like my soft skills are falling behind. Like, these are the things that are holding me back now. Like, these opportunities are all around you. All around you. And I feel like soft skills, so we talk about, like, I don't think Microsoft necessarily invented this, but Microsoft is very big on what we call growth mindset. And the idea here is that you're not just like born and you know a set of skills and like that's your limitation. It's like, if you want to go learn something, you can put in time and effort, and that might take a different amount of time and effort for different individuals, but if you put in the time and effort, you will be able to learn new skills. Okay, so if we keep a growth mindset, we might see that there's new challenges, but we can say, hey, look, like, this is an opportunity for me to focus on this. I am going to have to put in the effort and the time, and I should be able to learn and get better at it. So just like technical skills, I feel like soft skills are in the exact same space with respect to being able to learn them. Now, just like technical skills, I feel like soft skills can sometimes come naturally to people, right? You might know someone who just happens to be very good at math or happens to be very good at algorithmic thinking for programming. You can talk to them about system design, and they can sort of like visualize the different components that are interacting in a system, and it just seems like they just get it, right? And maybe they did have to put tons of time into it, and maybe they didn't. Maybe they just have a knack for it, right? This kind of thing can happen with soft skills, and I wanted to bring this up because I don't want people to feel discouraged if they're like, hey, this doesn't come easy to me, but I'm looking around and it seems to come easy to other people. Everyone's going to be different, okay? So don't, maybe for you, I'm just making this up, right? Maybe for you, something like algorithmic thinking came super easy. So you feel like you're a very good programmer, system designs kind of thing, and now you're trying to focus on soft skills, but that feels challenging, right? You're putting in even more effort, or you're hoping to, and it's like not progressing at the same rate. That's okay, right? Like, please don't beat yourself up over it. The point is that it will take time and it will take effort. That's okay, right? A lot of things just aren't going to happen overnight for people, and they will take time and effort. Nothing wrong with that. But we have to have awareness about these things, and I would say if you're trying to make improvements, don't be passive about it. Don't just like sit around and say, well, someday it's going to happen. Because yeah, someday it might happen, but like, how long do you want to leave things to just like coincidence and chance that you're going to get some of these opportunities to focus on them? Especially when you can try being proactive. So, okay, let's try to go into the more specific examples here, right? I'm just making these up off the top of my head, so it's not like I rehearse this. If you've watched Code Commute before, it's probably pretty obvious to you that I don't rehearse these things that I'm talking about. So let's say you're working in a development team, okay? And you are working on a project. You're not leading it. There's someone else leading it, but you're a contributor there. In terms of your soft skills, what you could be doing is trying to more proactively communicate status updates more clearly. You could be more proactively trying to communicate if you're blocked. So you're focusing on like, how do I give other people in the team valuable information, right? Without going into so much detail that they're like, why the hell is this guy or girl writing so much stuff? Like, that's just distracting. So you balance how much technical detail, but still giving them like, oh, okay, it seems like John on the team is able to get unblocked here. Seems like we're on track for it. So being able to practice, that's really beneficial. If you're the one leading the team, right? So you're leading this project, you could be the one who's trying to collect some of that information for people. So you're reaching out to them and explaining why the status updates are valuable. And maybe you have to communicate that to other stakeholders that are looking for status updates on the project. So how do you find a right balance between not like totally annoying every developer on the team and being like, hey, what's your status update? And then an hour later, hey, what's your status update? Finding helpful, constructive ways to communicate with people that doesn't feel overwhelming for them, and they understand why they're trying to provide those updates. And then you now have to go translate that in a way that stakeholders will get value out of. I'm just going to keep trying to like rapid fire some thoughts here. If you're doing design docs and stuff like that, something you could be focused on is when you're critiquing design docs, putting more thought into like how you're leaving comments in design docs. If you're reviewing them like on a call or in person, finding ways where you're not just saying things like, hey, like I don't like this design or this design's bad, but like putting more effort into communicating why, putting more effort into like let's have some awareness, right? So this person, maybe there's a junior person who's putting together a design for the first time, and instead of like hammering on them that it's not perfect or something, like how can we have some empathy and realize like, hey, we don't want to scare the crap out of this person. We want to give them constructive feedback, let them know that they're on the right track, they're trying hard, this is good, and still give them the constructive feedback so the design's on track, right? So practicing empathy, practicing awareness, like these are all really important things. I talk about this stuff online, and I think I probably said this on Code Commute, but I think it's kind of hilarious personally. I will see people that say like, oh, it's stupid to like to be trying to like how do they frame it? It's kind of like to be so soft on people, like it's actually helpful just to like cut to the chase and like to give the feedback, and like it's you're not doing them any favors by being nice to them. And like part of that's true, part of it, but I think the part that I find really funny is like these are generally the people that are lacking a lot of awareness and empathy, and they're the exact wrong audience to be the ones saying, oh, just give the direct feedback. Right? Direct feedback is good. Being able to communicate to someone very clearly, like here's the challenge, here's the way to improve it, here's the impact it's having. These are all really good things. But you need a high level of trust and respect between the two of you. And what happens is I think that a lot of these people that are saying things like this, like, stop, everyone's too soft these days. I'm like, dude, you're literally the person causing the issues that I have to go talk to the developers about because they're getting rattled by what's being said and they think that you're toxic. So perhaps you need more awareness that you don't have as much trust and respect from the team that you're interacting with. Okay, so like these things are critical. And when people don't have awareness and they start trying to lean into some of these other things, they actually create more problems. So yes, direct feedback is good. Yes, it's true that if you're trying to be too nice about feedback, people miss the significance of that feedback. It's true. But if you haven't built up trust and respect with that person, good luck delivering any feedback successfully. So if the trust and respect is low, and again, I'm saying these things so you can think about them and trying them out. If the trust and respect is low, say you're new on a team or you're working with someone and you haven't spent much time working with them, there's nothing wrong with giving feedback. But if you go to be very direct with them, they're probably going to think, why is this person being an asshole to me? And not everyone will think that, but I can confidently say that I have dealt with many engineers on the receiving end of that absolutely feel that way. So I would say if you have low trust and respect between you and someone else because you're newly working together, don't lean into the very direct feedback. Try to find ways to soften it. Use that as an opportunity to build up the relationship. And over time, you can get to the point where that trust and respect is built up. And it's like, hey, like so-and-so, I know from working with them, they do give me feedback. And every single time they've been trying to be constructive. So now that they're being a little bit more direct with me, like, I get it. Like, they want me to succeed. This has always been the case. when they don't have any track record with you and you try to be direct with them, you're more than likely just going to seem like an asshole. So, something to think about. So practice these things, right? Practice giving feedback. Practice when you're receiving feedback, right? How do you navigate getting feedback? If you're not getting feedback, ask for it. Like, talk to your manager and say, hey, how can I improve on these things? Now, I know a lot of people will say, oh, my manager gives me crappy feedback. It's always very generic. Try to, if you're getting generic feedback from your manager, ask for specific feedback. Don't just say, hey, is there any feedback you want to share with me? It's very open-ended, right? Hey, I've been working on this project in this part in particular, blah, blah, blah. Do you have any feedback on how this part of the project has gone? Right? And you can do this more frequently with different parts of projects and things like that. So lots of opportunities to do that, but giving and receiving feedback is a big part of your soft skills. Talked about communication. If you're working on projects cross teams, there's a huge opportunity. And you'll notice, like, if you're not getting these opportunities, generally, as software engineers are becoming more senior, for most places, there starts to be this expectation that you're doing a little bit more collaborative work across teams. And you'll notice, if you say you've been on a team for a while and you're more senior, things are going pretty good within the team, you might notice that when you start interacting cross-team, you have to go relearn some of the dynamics because you have different individuals, right? You might know the individuals well on your team. You know what it's like to work with them. You know their personality traits, things like that. You know how to communicate with them effectively. Now you're talking with a new team. Okay, how do you go about learning about people so that you can work with them effectively? These are things that people, I find, don't actively think about, because whatever, we just got to get the work done and we just have to code stuff and get it pushed to prod. Yeah. Yeah, we are developing software. These are things that happen, but if you want to do it more effectively, I really think that there's more effort that needs to go into soft skills for people to think about these things. It truly just becomes more challenging later on if you're not actively practicing these. So I gave a bunch of examples, and I think personally that if you're like, well, I'm not getting opportunities that look like that, I would be asking questions about how you can create those, or how you can talk to your manager about such opportunities, right? If you have a product owner, project manager, product manager on your team, if you're not spending time with them at all, maybe try doing that. Maybe schedule some time with them. Try to learn about how they navigate things. What is going on here? Did they took a turn lane away? Oh, maybe not. Now I'm stupid behind this bus. One of the lanes is blocked with pylons, and it looks like they tried to actually get rid of the right turn arrow. But everyone else is going up beside me with their right signal on. I hate being behind buses. So anyway, soft skills. Don't ignore them. There's plenty of opportunities to work on them. If you're leaning into getting feedback, you could even be asking for feedback about how you're communicating things effectively. I just had this thought too, depending on the size of your company, and if you're working across geographies, people in different countries and stuff like that, so many good opportunities to learn about how people from completely different backgrounds will have their own things that come up with communication, right? The way that we talk about certain things, the way how direct we are, all of this stuff can be influenced by cultural background, and it might seem insignificant. Man, why is this car nonstop beeping at me? You gotta stop that. What's this guy doing? There's gotta be like a leaf or something on the sensor. And now my boss is messaging me. Are you coming to the office today? Yes, I'm just pulling in. At the lights. We're close. Yeah, so I'm running a meeting that has to happen on a couple of days per week. And because it's speaking about cross geography, it's across different time zones. So the occurrence today is at 8 a.m. so we can have people from Europe participate. So that's what I was doing. my boss, don't text while driving. I was, in fairness, stopped at a light with cars in front and behind me. Can't do much. But he's right. Don't do it. Yeah, we have a. I think if I didn't misunderstand, we have someone visiting today, which will be good. Get some FaceTime working together instead of just being on calls. Again, another thing with soft skills with respect to remote work. I feel like being remote can sometimes impede some of the ways that we develop soft skills. Give you a really simple example. Like, body language is incredibly important when we're communicating as humans, right? I'm not a psychologist or a sociologist or anything like that, but just from my experience doing this kind of stuff, there's so much information communicated in body language. And if you're on calls or over written message, and even when you're on video on a call, you don't see someone's entire body, right? So they could be hiding some of their body language. This kind of bike is flying, man. Look at him go by. Boom. So I've talked about this too, where like if you're working remotely, getting some FaceTime can be so valuable. Because it will help you understand how other people communicate effectively, how they interact. You might be able to get a different sense of like, oh, when they talk like this or when they do these things, they're not actually mad or whatever, right? Like, we make a lot of assumptions. We fill in the gaps when we don't have the information. So it can make a huge impact. But I think that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you have other questions and stuff you want me to go over, just add them to the comments. And I will see you later on the drive home. Take care.